Muy buenos días. Good morning. I am Antonio Torre Miranda, Legal Advisor for the Energy Bureau of the Puerto Rico Public Service Regulatory Board. We welcome LUMA representatives and those watching via the Energy Bureau's YouTube channel. It is now 10:04 a.m., Tuesday, October 12th, 2021, and we are commencing the compliance hearing in case NEPR-MI 2019-0011, process for the adoption of regulation for distribution resource planning. We are holding this technical conference remotely as a precaution to avoid the spreading of COVID-19. This morning, we are joined by the Chairman of the Energy Bureau, Edison Avilés de Lis.
Morning.
Associate Commissioners Lilian Mateo Santos.
Buenos días.
Ferdinand Ramos Sogard.
Good morning.
And Silvia Ugarte Araujo.
Buenos días.
On December 31st, 2020, the Energy Bureau issued a resolution and order in the instant case, through which it presented an overview of the work performed related to the process for the regulation of the integrated planning of distribution resources. After holding several stakeholder workshops, where the Energy Bureau received ample participation from PREPA representatives and different stakeholders, the Energy Bureau issued several directives to PREPA and LUMA to use the formulation of proposals for capital investment in the distribution system. The Energy Bureau ordered PREPA and LUMA to immediately begin the work required to complete several projects for the deadline established in the December 31 resolution. In order to ensure that PREPA and LUMA comply with the projects required by the Energy Bureau, a calendar for compliance hearing was established. The Energy Bureau ordered LUMA to appear at the compliance hearings and ensure that the representatives with personal knowledge on the execution of the required projects appear before the Energy Bureau. The compliance hearing will be conducted in English and will be recorded in audio and video. Furthermore, it is being streamed live both in English and Spanish, simultaneous translation, via the Energy Bureau's YouTube channel. A copy of the recording of the compliance hearing will be made part of the administrative file of this case. We will now establish the instructions to be followed during this compliance hearing. Afterwards, we will take the oath of the LUMA representatives that will appear today before the Energy Bureau. Before answering any questions or addressing the Energy Bureau, all participants must identify themselves for the record by stating their full name, position in LUMA, or whether they are a LUMA consultant. Before addressing the Energy Bureau, please unmute your microphone. Please keep your microphone on mute while not answering questions or addressing the Energy Bureau in order to avoid disturbances due to background noises. Based on the information provided by LUMA's legal representatives, the following representatives and our consultants will be providing testimony and answering the Energy Bureau questions. Please say present or here when you hear your name. Hugo Basualdo, Director Regulatory.
Present.
Don Cortez.
Present.
President. Thank you. Daryl Wilvers, Director Asset Management.
Present.
Attorney Mercado, can you please confirm that those people mentioned are those that are going to provide testimony today?
Good morning, Margarita Mercado for the record. Yes, those are LUMA's witnesses for today.
Thank you. To the witnesses, do you affirm that the testimony that you will provide today is true, correct, and based on your own and personal knowledge, and that to the best of your understanding, none of the information you will provide today is misleading or untruthful? Hugo Basualdo.
I do.
Don Cortez.
I affirm.
Daryl Wilvers.
I do.
Let the record reflect that all the witnesses answered in the affirmative. Before proceeding, I would like to ask the chairman, Attorney De Lis, if he has any comments.
No, I don't.
Okay, any associate commissioners, if they have any opening statements or comments?
Not at this moment.
Not from me.
Not for my part.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we will proceed with LUMA's presentation for today's compliance hearing.
Thank you. you, Attorney Torres. With leave from the Bureau, Hugo Bashualdo will take the lead with the presentation.
Yes, please go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you very much again for this opportunity to present a status review of on our progress of the plan for distribution system interconnection capacity map and power system inventory compliance hearing. Thank you very much. In today's call, we would like to discuss briefly on provide an overall status review, followed by a specific review of Order 2 and Order 3, and then provide a quick overview on the status of the pre-engineering data collection RFP, which is in progress. In general, the order number 1, which relates to voltage level map, is complete. It was complete by PREPA on its time, and in this case, we updated accordingly as ordered by the negociado. Order number 2 was also complete on September 30th, and it was informed to PREP accordingly, indicating what we have accomplished and also attaching the user guideline in English and in Spanish, just as a proof that the map was up ever since September 30th. Essentially, order number 2 is complete, and what is next is basically to start updating it in a quarterly basis. The next update of this map will be December 31st. Order number 3 related to data for Power Grid. We are in progress in many fronts, and we have complete many of them as well. We'll be providing more details about it. The most important thing is for data related to the field, such as poles, service transformers, feeder layouts. That is going to be part of the pre-engineering data collection project, which is in progress in the RFP stage at this moment, and will be completed as indicated previously in 3 years. This is just a view of our interconnection capacity map. I would like to provide a quick demo of how to use this map. We tried at all possible to make it available for any users of the system, and most importantly, to DG developers, which, by the way, we had a meeting last week with CESA and all its CESA's members. They were more than 30 that logged into our session we had last week, and we received a very, very positive feedback from them, and we are very pleased to hear their comments, and we are very pleased to know that this information will be providing them better information so that they can shop for a better location for adding more DG on our system. We thank you, CESA and its member, for all the positive feedback. How to get access to the map? As we simply search up for Luma Energy Web, we log into the web side, and the customer will be actually, or DG developers or anyone can have access to this map by just looking into the residential option and going through the energy renewable option of that menu. On the third option, obviously, we provide more information about DG interconnection, right? How to register to the DG portal, how to initiate the process, and also we said, here's more information for you to look at. you can see whether you have more available, if you have available room for additional DG on your system or not. That's one way. The other way is for commercial side. In the commercial menu, they can also go into this option and go into renewable energy option. Same thing. We provide information about how to register to DG portal, how to access to DG portal and initiate a process for interconnecting DGs, and obviously providing them information about the map. They can access to the map and see if they have available room on the, let me step back, if the feeder where they are connected to have additional space or room for integrating the initiatives they may have. The third way of getting access to the map is through what we call other groups. It's meant to be for our special audience, developers, suppliers, etc. We have created one more option. It's meant to be for DG developers. Once they have access to it, same thing of information. We try to be very consistent with the same type of information to residential, commercial, and DG developers, not only to get registered on the system, but also to initiate a DG interconnection process. And in addition, now we are providing them access to our interconnection capacity map. Okay. Once we go into the interconnection capacity map, which is the option C in all three options, they will go immediately to our map system. Obviously, there is a disclaimer. The highlight of this is we work with a legacy data coming from PREPA and with all the readily available information. So we agree on this, and we immediately go into the map. The first thing any customer DG developers or any user may have access is to the user guideline or user guide. They can have in English or in Spanish. The purpose of this guide is essentially to help any visitors to this map to navigate through the map itself, the different options they have, the different icons they will see, so they can understand in a very simple way, in a plain language. We provide information how to go through the different options. The user guide also has information about what kind of maps they want to see. Just for the sake of providing an easy view, we put this black background, but the customer can actually navigate through different types of maps, just as a Google map option. And then we provide more information regarding the different type of maps, because we try to be very simple in this case so that they can understand what kind of a map they will be looking at. So we have the three options: the voltage level map, the DG penetration map, and the incremental capacity analysis, or the power flow based hosting capacity map information. We also provide more information how to navigate step by step. If they see different options on the map itself, they can understand what are those icons and what do they mean. Same thing, they will be finding in the map some information. For instance, what does DG penetration mean? So in this case, we provide what the definition of the DG penetration. What do we mean by the 15%? How it's being calculated, etc., etc. What do we mean by existing DG? What do we mean by hosting capacity, incremental hosting capacity, etc.? So as you can see, it's very plain language that anybody can have access to it and can understand what is this. And in the sake of more transparency on what we are publishing, we want to be very consistent with what we have laid down in our plan and discussed in the first compliance hearing. We are basically saying how we calculate the DG penetration numbers, the 3 different layers for this DG penetration, and those 3 layers are actually part of the map application. And also we are saying that we have the incremental hosting capacity or the power flow based hosting capacity information. As previously indicated, we have this in English and we have that in Spanish. When we go back to the map, the first thing any user will see is this this map. In the left-hand side, they will find the legend, the color code. What do we mean by different colors? What kind of voltage level class we are seeing in this case? And if they want to see, for instance, in more details, and if they are shopping in the Mayagüez area, they want to see what kind of feeder, what kind of voltage class feeders they are seeing. They can simply go into this donut and see where the 4 kV maps are located, or where the 4 kV feeders are located and how the layout is going around. If they want to go back to the entire map, they can simply touch on the middle or center of this donut and they will be coming back to the overall map. Or they can see, for instance, the 13 kV class maps where they are located. So essentially, if they are shopping in some of these areas, they can see whether they will be dealing with a higher voltage class circuit or lower voltage class circuit. We had this conversation with CESA, as indicated, where we were providing them some insights from technical perspective, where they could shop better for adding more DG interconnection. That was a great discussion we had last week. This is the voltage level class map, essentially providing where or how the distribution system layout is currently in Puerto Rico. If they want to switch to a map, for instance, they want to see the the DG penetration map, they can switch this little eye. They can block the voltage level and open the DG penetration map. So same thing on the left-hand side, they will have a legend, essentially indicating 3 color codes. The green means that that particular feeder has less than 10% DG at this moment. The yellow means that particular feeder has between 10 to 15% DG. So what does that mean for DG developers? Essentially is to say, hey guys, in the green color and yellow color, you have a better options to interconnect without causing any negative impact to the distribution system. If you are shopping in areas where you are in above 15% DG penetration, then number one, those feeders are waiting for a supplemental study. Number two, there is a chance that those feeders may require some level of mitigation options. So they don't want to be on that situation. They may rather shop on the areas where we have a green color. That's the discussion we have with CESA, and they really like the view at this moment. Same thing if you want to see in the maps, so you can see this, only those feeders that have 10% or less DG penetration at this moment. And if they want to see those feeders that are 15% or above, and also whether they require or not supplemental study. Okay. And the third layer, I'm going to come back to the drop down menu in a moment, but in the third layer is essentially a more deeper analysis. It's not as a feeder overall view, because in the previous maps, right, we see the whole feeder, either is a 4 kV voltage level or the whole feeder, whether they have 10% or less DG penetration. In this case, the information is per feeder section. We have one feeder that they may have different color codes, meaning different hosting capacity in per section. Okay. So same thing, they can see those sections where they can have those feeder sections that have capacity for from 1 to 5 megawatt hosting capacity, or sections that have less than 1 megawatt hosting capacity, or a section that may have no more than 500 kilowatt hosting capacity in those particular sections. So now, why we have only few feeders? Because those are the feeders that were already model certified on the field. In order for us to responsibly doing this analysis, we need to have those feeders properly certified and validated on the field, meaning that we need to understand the phasing of the branches. The customer are connected to particular phases. The feeder 3-phase readings as opposed to the single-phase readings. So we have several information that we need to have clear picture of what we are dealing with. Therefore, we can model and provide this analysis. The number of feeders in this third layer will increase as the pre-engineering data collection project progresses. Let's go back to the original, the initial maps. So let's see here. In this case, if we jump onto any area and we want to see details of a particular feeder, they can simply see, as you can see, is the whole feeder is highlighted, and we have several useful information for everybody who is interested in running or interconnecting DG in the system. We have the substation ID, feeder ID, and what is the voltage class. This is when we are looking into the voltage class information. The voltage drop of the menu or the information will be different if we switch to DG map layer, for instance. Let's click in any feeder. Again, the whole feeder is shown in this case, and we have a useful information for that particular whole feeder. Same information from substations, feeder ID. What is now the feeder peak demand, the feeder daytime light demand, the existing DG, how much DG penetration we are seeing at this moment, and in which layer, DG penetration layer class we are, this feeder is located in. In this case is in the first group, in the 0 to 10% DG penetration class. What is the voltage level of that particular feeder, and whether the feeder requires or not supplemental study. If we click in another one, particularly those that are above 15%, and you will see that the question whether that feeder requires supplemental study, then you will see is yes. If we move into the third layer, the third map, we switch the map, and then we go into a feeder. But in this case, we will have information on that particular feeder section. Okay, it's not for the entire feeder. So beside the identification, feeder peak, feeder light, existing DG, voltage class, etc., then we will have what is the maximum feeder segment hosting capacity. Is going to be, in this case, 180 kilowatt, in which segment class is located between 0 to 500 kilowatt. What is the voltage class of that feeder? Is 32 kV. When the study was performed, the hosting capacity was performed September 23. So I'm going to go back now into this. And as I said, originally, customers, they may choose to switch this map into different type of maps. They can go into the street level view. I will be switching into that view, and then they can obviously go into detail and see what is how the distribution feeder goes along those feeders in this particular area or any area. And obviously they can switch the map to a better resolution if they choose to. For instance, just as a Google Earth, just to have a better view, geographical view, they can always go into that level and see how the feeder goes and what is the hosting capacity for that feeder section, if they are looking into the feeder section. If they are looking into the DG penetration, they can see the DG penetration as well, okay? Or they can see the voltage class layer. So one thing we discussed with the DG developers is, as you may understand, that is always a challenge, and there are still some feeders that has no information from SCADA. For instance, there is no readings. If they have all the devices in place, but there is this is not only for Puerto Rico. It happens to any utility. If they have SCADA connections, but for some reasons the data doesn't flow back from the feeder heads back to the SCADA system, or simply the whole scheme is damaged, particularly in this case due to the Hurricane Maria. And there are still some feeders with no information, and those feeders are not part of this map, okay? Because we don't want to provide a wrong information, wrong data. If they are looking into a particular area, if they want to see details, they can always approach to us. That's something also we inform to CESA, and they agree, and they will be contacting us if they require more information for a particular area. The other thing to highlight is this is only for LUMA's feeder. If there is any particular or privately owned circuit, is not part of this information. With that, I'm going to stop and open if you guys have any questions before we move into providing the status report of order number 3.
Good morning, Mr. Bachualo. This is Commissioner Ramos. I have a question pertaining the existing capacity that's shown in these maps. When was the cutoff date? Specifically, I want to know, out of the backlog that exists of the DG applications.
That's a good question.
How far into that backlog did you go, or when was the cutoff date? So in December, how much more DG can we expect to be integrated into this map?
So that's a very good question. Everything is related in this case, right? All the backlog, the way how we are managing it. So all this information is flowing into our DG portal and GIS and CCNB. From the legacy, we still have some inconsistent information between those 3 systems. And our team are heavily working on trying to consolidate all this information. But all the backlog, all the information that LUMA started working on is already mapped out accordingly in those 3 systems. So the cutoff for this one was in July timeframe.
Yeah.
what we are expecting to do for December is, as we improve our data, the cutoff will be in November timeframe, so that we can incorporate up to November. All the DG information up to November will be incorporated in this view.
Okay.
Mr. Bashvaldo, this is Commissioner Mateo. I understand that the order indicated that this data in the maps needs to be updated at a minimum quarterly.
Correct.
Since Luma plans to completely address the backlog situation, and we should be working on a month-to-month scenario rather than the backlog. Is Luma planning to update this sooner than quarterly? Because I think it would help the developers and the public to have information sooner rather than later.
Absolutely, absolutely. We completely understand that. That's the main reason why we are heavily involved in this data consolidation, so that we can speak the same language from commercial side and the GIS side and the DG portal. So at this moment, we are planning to update this in a quarterly base, meaning December timeframe, because there are two main pieces of information in here. Number one is the DG information, and the other one is the field inventory assessment. We are publishing these maps based on what we have available in the GIS, but we really want to be responsible and provide a true representation of the feeder, but after being certified in the field, right? So the moment we are updating our GIS through the pre-engineering data collection program, then all this information will be flowing smoothly. Yeah, definitely in the future, we definitely will be proposing to update this in a more proactive approach. Monthly basis is a good approach. The other approach may be at the moment we see a feeder reaching 500 kilowatt and above, then we update that feeder. That may be another option as well. In that case, we will be providing better information to DG developers.
And I have another question is, and I've seen the maps only through this presentation. I haven't entered the site. Where in the screen the user would know at which day was the information updated. So if I'm accessing these maps, where do I go to check how current is the information that I'm using?
Yeah, at this moment is through our third layer. Let me go back to one of this. Through our third layer, we have the date when the study was performed, so that they can see how current the power flow base hosting capacity has been published, has been assessed. Now, regarding when this whole map has been published, I think that's a good suggestion, Commissioner Mateo. I think we may add a date when this map is being published and updated.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have like a timestamp on when, like with many other website pages that, you know, when was the last time that it was updated. I think it would be a good signal in case the person wants to then reach out to you because they would need something else or some more recent information.
Understood. Yeah, that's a very good suggestion, Commissioner Mateo. We'll be incorporating a date. and notifying you accordingly.
Thank you very much.
Any other question before we switch to order number 3?
I don't think we have any other questions, and I guess we're going. And I wanted to say that this is a very important step. This is the first time that the public has this information, and it should have happened before, but PREPA didn't do it, and they started the process. You're completing it, and I think it shows the level of transparency and familiarity that we want the public to have in Puerto Rico. We want people to have as much information as possible in order to make decisions about their energy usage and how they decide to position themselves in this new energy sector or market that is under development in Puerto Rico. If they want to be a prosumer and acquire a DG system and install it, now they have more information available, and they can even, you know, understand it better when they receive information from Luma in terms of what is the interconnection process about and what it entails. So I am very happy, and because this is something that should have happened a long time ago, but we haven't, and now we're in the process, and I'm sure you will continue in the process of improving it as you get your inventory done. So let's go to the third part of the order, which is the most interesting one, because it's very challenging.
Oh, yes, certainly it is. All right, thank you very much for your words, Commissioner Mateo. Appreciate it. We're going to switch now to order number 3. Okay, regarding order number 3, this is just as a reminder slide, just to say this order 3, we divided the whole process in 4 major steps. Number 1 is to assess whether we have the data or not. The step number 2 was to define how we want to archive those informations, what kind of systems, etc. Step number 3 is, if we have available information, then start dumping all this information into our archiving system. And step number 4 is, in the extreme condition, is if we don't have the data, what do we do about it? In this particular case, the main thing, for instance, is the pre-engineering data collection program. That's one of our most important projects we are running into right now. Okay, with this reminder, we are gonna start looking into the different items. First one is whether we have the geographical position of a circuit service transformer. So first of all, for most of this, if not all, for all of these items, step number 1, assessing the availability of the data, and step number 2, defining how to archive, is complete, except one of them, which is related to the non-technical laws. I will get into this. But for all of them, step 1 and 2 are complete. Okay. Coming back to item A, is we heavily depend on the pre-engineering data collection program to collect the data, update GIS, which will be feeding different initiatives within Luma. One of them is obviously the hosting capacity. The second one will be to exercise different planning initiatives in our system, perform protection coordination studies to enhance the protection system, to perform more reliability analysis, for instance, to enhance the switching capability. There are so many things that will be coming after updating the GIS information. That's why it's very important for us in program in Luma. Item number B is to assess the availability of the SCADA visibility. This is complete for all devices where we have a SCADA visibility. We know them all. We know what is the status is. We now have a system where we have a clear visibility what kind of information we have from different devices in the system that has SCADA visibility. Item number C, availability of data about the load profile. With the existing and the legacy data, we have the single phase readings per feeder, and we now have a better understanding, a better appreciation what kind of information we have in there. And there are some cases where they collect, 90% of the 8760 readings, 90% of them are truly collected. But there are cases that even though they have all the infrastructure in place, it's they collect none, they collect zero, or they collect erroneous information. As I said initially, this is not only for Puerto Rico, it happens to any utility. Now, the next challenge, obviously, is to, as the substation automation project evolves, as the replacement of the feeders evolves, then we will be enhancing all this data collection process and the load profile collection process. But at this moment, we have a good visibility of what we have, and we already have a process in place to collect the single phase reading information, for instance. Or even we collect the 3-phase readings at the substation level for some of them. Item number D is identification of DER. As I mentioned initially, we have in the process of consolidating data from our 3 key systems, the DG portal, the CCNB, which is the commercial system, and the GIS data. So that is in progress. Regarding the backup generation, we are reaching out industrial and institutional customers to request information whether they have or not a backup generation, what are the characteristics of it, mostly the capacity, and whether they will be able to sustain in the outage event. If they do, we would like to know for how long, whether it's for a couple of hours or it is for weeks, so that we can plan accordingly within our emergency response. And obviously, in this case, we are subject to the customer's desire to provide us or not information. So we are hoping that they will be sharing with us such data. Item number E is related to the typical profile of DER. This is also complete. We have access to different systems, and we can access to them at any time, at any point in time. So if we want to conduct some particular studies, we have the NREL PV Watt system, one of them, and we have the Homer system, where we can access to collect PV profiles in any part of the of Puerto Rico. Action item number F, which is related to transformer state and remaining life. The power transformers data assessment and collection is in progress at the substation level, so that once we complete that, we'll be in the position to identify better what is the remaining life of those transformers. Regarding the service transformer, on the other hand, this is another piece of information that will be collected on the pre-engineering data collection program. So as you can see, so there are some items that we depend on the field inventory, or what we call now the pre-engineering data collection program. Regarding the technical and non-technical losses, as we discussed in previous hearing, at this moment, and based on our assessment of the type of data we have, which is single-phase readings, for instance, based on the data we have from customers, there are still customers, yes, they are in the system, but the electrical linkage from customer back to the feeder to the substation, there are still some challenges. We are working with heavily investigating on those cases so that we can properly do the data consolidation, the electrical data consolidation, as opposed to the commercial side. We are working on that, which is going to be very crucial in this non-technical losses calculation. So the non-technical losses calculation in a rudimentary way, as we discussed in the previous compliance hearing, is in progress. The technical losses, we have already defined the methodology, the approach. We have all the necessary, we call it tool, but it's a database management system. It can be calculated with no problem. But again, based on the readily available information, which is only the single phase readings available per feeder level. Will those be improved? Yes. This will be going back to the substation automation, back to the feeder relays replacement program. So all of them are related. We have visibility of all those impacts and where the better data will be coming from. And will this at some point be a no rudimentary calculation? Yes, at some point when we finish replacing all the key components on the substations. Relays is one of them. Item number 8, physical and cyber security or cyber vulnerabilities at substations. The physical assessment, the physical security assessment is in progress at this moment at the substation level, and the cyber security vulnerability assessment will be carried out with a different skill set of teams, and it will be initiated very soon. Next one. Regarding item number E, related to feeder with critical load, essentially, that information is already collected from PREPA, and we are validating as we do some field inventory through our DG interconnections. We are validating that data. So far, is going well, and also very working hand by hand with our DG interconnection process, which identifies which feed requires supplemental study, which feeds this hosting capacity map. So all our processes are now starting working together, communicating together, so we can have a clear data for DG developers, for customers, for anyone, so that we can have a consistent information, not only for outside stakeholders, but most important for us to be on the same page across our organization. Item number J, location state joint use of status pole. This is also part of the pre-engineering data collection project. So we will be collecting all this information at that time. And finally, this is an update of our procurement process for the pre-engineering data collection RFP. At this moment, we are answering questions coming from readers who requires more clarification of what do we mean when we require such and such data. So we are in that process. It's moving well. The end date still planned to be by the first quarter of 2025. With this, I will open again for questions that the commissioners may have.
I just want to verify if there are any questions or if we're.
No questions from me at the moment.
This is Commissioner Mateo. I just wanted to ask you whether in this calendar, and I think we have gone through this before, but I just wanted to ensure that you are capitalizing or maximizing all efficiencies possible to complete this as soon as possible. I know it's a lot of work, but it's an inventory that is absolutely necessary for many planning initiatives, including those who LUMA proposed in the system remediation plan, knowing where everything is, how old it is, what the life, the useful life is, and many other fields of information would inform better planning decisions. And so I know it's a lot of work, but have you made sure that you're using the right amount of people and that you're capitalizing on every chance to complete this work as soon as possible?
Definitely. Yeah, essentially, as we discussed in the previous compliance hearing, right, with this field visit, we don't just want to verify the layout and whether the equipment is where we said it is, but also doing a health assessment of those systems. What is the conditions? And when we do the health assessments, it's not just simply to say it's in good or bad shape. It's basically ranking them in different levels of goods and different levels of bad conditions. So yes, and that is part of our current discussion with bidders. There are a lot of questions. We want to make sure that the bidders understand that we actually need both information to verify the layout of the system and to provide us the equipment, the device condition accordingly. Document them, prove them through pictures, collect the data in specific systems that we will be asking the bidders to do, etc., etc. The answer is yes, Commissioner Mateo. We are trying to be very organized in this sense, and we want to have our bidders with a clear information of what we are exactly requesting from them, so they can make sure that they will be delivering what we are requesting.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I would like to ask Luma or Attorney Mercado if they have any other comments or statements they would like to make.
Margarita Mercado, for the record, at this juncture, Luma personally do not have any additional comments, and thank the Bureau for their time and consideration of the presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. There being no comments from Luma or the Energy Bureau, it is now 10:58 a.m. We adjourn this compliance hearing. Thank you, everyone, for your presentation and for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Buen día.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah.